Hopefully I'm going to see that recording. Good.
All right, now we're good to start again.
From Adam, are we doing any more?
So we have we have two more. So I will introduce Adam Wright, and he is going to be our new chancellor at our Saddleback Valley campus. And so Adam, if you want to unmute and say a few words, that would be great.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you all so much for this opportunity. I'm so excited to join the OPA team. Thank you so much to the board of directors, Dr. Kernan, Dr. Henry, Mr. Barley. This is really, I'm just overjoyed at this opportunity. A little bit about me. I was previously principal at El Segundo Middle School, and I've served as a high school assistant principal, high school teacher, swim and water polo coach. I currently live in Torrance with my wife and my 11 and 8-year-old boys, who are avid hockey players. They're actually at hockey practice now. But I really look forward to hitting the ground running, getting started as soon as possible, getting to know the staff, getting to know parents, and I can't wait to start meeting and getting to know all the kids. One interesting fact about me is that the first day of school is my second favorite day of the year. So I'm so excited because I know August 17th is going to be here before we know it. So like I said, I'm excited to get started, excited to learn more about OPA and the community and everything that I've read and everyone that I've talked to about just gush about how great it is. So I'm honored to be a chancellor and that you have given me this opportunity. So again, thank you all very much. I can't wait to get started. And for families and students and staff, you will be hearing from me soon.
Thank you, Chancellor Wright.
All right, and then we have our new principal for our OPA Middle School that we will be hoping to open in the fall of 2023, and that is Mr. John Brickley.
Uh-oh. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
We can hear you.
I am so sorry. I am broadcasting to you. Let me see if I can get this right. Okay, there we go. I am coming to you from the back of Angelo's and Vinci's Italian restaurant in Fullerton, believe it or not.
It is actually John's birthday tonight.
Oh,
so
happy birthday.
It is my
we're
birthday.
crashing his birthday party.
No, this is a wonderful, wonderful gift. So I want to say thank you to the OPA board of directors, to the cabinet. I have some very special people here with me. I have my wife, Jill, my son, Griffin, who's somewhere in the back, my daughter, Grace. And I just wanted to step in and say thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. I am very excited to work with the OPA team, with the parents, with the students, with the entire community to truly build a middle school that is second to none. Just very briefly about me, this is my 33rd year in public education. I am currently finishing up my tenure at Whitney High School, where we have been the #1 high school in the state for 3 out of the last 6 years. And, you know, there were very few things that could have motivated me to leave, but then I saw the opportunity available at OPA and I was very excited. So to be selected is just a tremendous honor. And again, I look forward to working with all of you. And thank you for letting me zoom in from an Italian restaurant.
Thank you, Chancellor. We heard really great things about you. So welcome to the team. Looking forward to this challenge we have ahead of us where we've hired a chancellor, but we don't have approvals for a middle school. So thank you and happy birthday again.
Happy birthday.
Everyone, take care.
All right, so again, we are super excited to have hired such amazing staff for our schools, and we're looking forward to starting the new school year strong. And so we'll turn it back over to you,
Excellent.
Mr. Pagoo.
Okay, let's go to item number 8, items of presentation. Item number A, summer school update. Ms. Roney and Dr. Ham.
Yes, actually, Ms. Roney is going to, I'll go ahead and present the screen. I'll have Dr. Hanan help me present the screen. And then, but Ms. Roney is going to do the presentation. She served, or is actually currently serving, since we're not quite finished the summer program yet, as our summer school administrator. She has done an amazing job. And so I thought I would defer to her expertise and everything that she has to share about the summer program. I see that you're there, Ms. Roney. If you can give us 1 second to pull up the presentation, and then I'll click through and you just let me know when you need me to change the slides.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yes.
No, okay. No, I'm gonna make you a host of it.
Now share.
Hold on.
Okay, we should be ready to go. Ms.
Okay.
Roney, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so it has been great so far. You know, this is our second year doing the Full Steam Ahead program, and it's been so smooth. We learned a lot last year when I was administration for Full Steam Ahead last year. So it's run so smoothly, and thanks to the teachers and the staff that we have for that. And this is kind of the overview of the classes that we have. So we have in-person K through 7. And we were able to do a combination virtual class of 2nd and 3rd and a virtual class of 4th and 5th. And then our numbers for our middle school students, 6th and 7th in person, were a little lower than we had hoped. So we just had a virtual 6th grade teacher and a virtual 7th. They just had 2 different cohorts of in-person and virtual. And roughly we have about 217 students total for in-person and virtual in our Full Steam Ahead. If you can go to the next slide. So I broke it down into the weeks that we have been doing Full Steam Ahead. We're in our last week. We have, today's Tuesday, so we have 2 days left. This was the first week. And I want to say too, before I start going into what the teachers and Boys and Girls Club staff has been doing with them outside in the STEAM lab, I'm sure you're familiar or aware that we're going to be doing a free grab and go breakfast in the fall. And so we had an opportunity to pilot that for summer school. And it's been going great. Applesauce, Cheerios, milk, granola bars, and the kids are grabbing it in the morning, and then they can keep it for their snack. And Veronica, who's been doing the food services, she's also out during their break in the middle of the day. Well, not in the middle of the day, but in the middle of the cohorts. And she was able to give out more food then. So kids are grabbing that free breakfast for their snack time. And I think she's averaging about 20 to 30 grab and go breakfasts a day. So we've seen great success with that. And so the first week, students were in the classroom with their teachers, letter sounds. You can see some pictures there. Boys and Girls Club staff has been doing a great job. They have these rotations where they're outside playing dodgeball, kickball, various activities on the blacktop. And they're also using our STEAM lab to do STEAM activities. So this week they were making and designing boats out of foil to see how many pennies or marbles they could put in without it sinking. If you can go to the next slide. Second week was really where friendships were starting to form, collaboration, teamwork. In the STEAM lab, they were making slime. They were working together to build, taking like little spaghetti sticks and marshmallows and trying to build a tower out of them. And then in the classroom, learning about the butterfly cycle, reviewing math and ELA concepts. If you can go to the next one. Last week, the picture on the bottom left was elephant toothpaste, so kind of a chemical reaction, and it overflowed. They made parachutes, and there were some kids playing an outside game. I think they were playing silent ball. You can see like the bubbles in their cheeks. And they also in STEAM lab, they made their own bubble creations. And 6th grade, Miss White did ice cream with them in the classroom for a science experiment. And in language arts, I walked into classrooms and was seeing the sentence formation, parts of speech, reading, doing novel studies, math review, because this week they are doing their diagnostics for math and ELA so we can track their progress. Next slide. So they're doing their iReady diagnostics this week. We'll get the results and share those with you. That was all I had. Dr. Henry, if you wanted to add anything for this slide.
We just wanted to let you know that they are finishing the assessments right now. So that's why we don't have that data for you, but in a future data update, we are going to present the data comparing the last benchmark that they completed. And then we kept the window open. So it was the same grade level, apples to apples at the end of summer. What we're looking at is we're hoping to see some growth in ELA reading or math. And, you know, again, it was 16 days. So realistically, we're also hoping just that the scores are stable and that we don't see any of what is typical in the summer slide of learning for our students. But I was able to check in with a few of the professors today. And so some of the students who had finished maybe a little bit earlier, the results are looking pretty good so far. So they were pleased, they were sharing that with me. We also, when Ms. Roney and I were talking about this next step of the summer program, we talked a lot about attendance. And so when we present the scores to you, we are going to hopefully be able to differentiate the growth by the number of days students attended. Because attendance is not mandatory, we did have some students that maybe only attended 8 days of the summer program instead of the full 16. And so because that people had summer plans and it was really, you know, they were excited to get out and be able to do things this summer. So we want to make sure that when we do present that data to you, we keep that attendance factor in mind.
Yeah, because we're gonna expect a certain growth, and if they're not there.
Right, so we'll look at it both ways. That's all I have. And Ms. Roney, is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I was just going to add on to that attendance piece because it is summer and they have their plans. And so I think there's going to be a different set of data for those students who were there all of the 16 days and those students who maybe were there half the time or only 1 week. So we wanted to present that data to show you, you know, when they were there the full time, what their results looked like versus other situations.
Do you have any questions for us?
I have actually two. One is, what is elephant toothpaste?
So I went,
that slide.
well, Ms. Roney, you could probably answer, but I will tell you, before summer started, I did a very large shopping trip.
You did, yeah.
Very strange things, and I garnered a lot of attention in the store because I had like slime ingredients of like a bunch of things of contact lenses or fluid and just a lot of different items. And it became a whole talk in the store. And I said, they're like, what is this for? And what is this for? And I had the list that Boys and Girls Club of all the experiment and STEAM activities they wanted to do. And I remember having a conversation, well, that's for elephant toothpaste. And they're like, what is that? I said, I'm going to guess that they concoct, they put the ingredients together and then it foams up larger, like an elephant size. Is that right, Ms. Roney? Am I?
Yeah, and I think they had a smaller scale. It didn't totally go, you know, everywhere because we wanted to keep it contained or didn't want it to go outside the windows of the STEAM lab.
Oh, come on.
But I think when I was watching them do it, it seemed like it was a mixture of yeast, water, and maybe contact solution or something else. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we're not averse to seeing videos of it in the future, but
Yeah.
We can Google it and
Yeah,
get
there's a
all
bunch
the
of
instructions for elephant toothpaste,
Well, it'd
absolutely.
be nice to see their, like, the video of them actually doing it, right? Seeing the experiments and stuff.
I have some, Mrs. Agrawal, if I can share those.
If you share them with me as well, Ms. Roney, I'll make sure they're on the next board update.
I think all of us want to see it, yeah.
And I think the second question is the most serious one, which is the attendance question. Did we have oversubscription for the program? Meaning, were there more people who wanted to join the program than we had space for?
No.
Okay,
no,
so I
we
guess I
kept
just want to
opening
make
it
sure
up.
that somebody who would be willing to come 16 days of the program, they're not sent away. As opposed to somebody who could only come for 8 days, so maybe you could keep an eye on that and make sure that people who can commit to coming to most of the program would benefit from it.
No, we made sure
Okay,
that
good.
when we further opened up the pool
Thank you.
and did not turn anybody away.
Okay,
Do we have, are we at full capacity or what's the capacity? How many people agree to come and? Because we're spending a certain
I'd
amount of
say-
money there, right? So,
I'd say it was a little smaller than maybe what we had anticipated.
And smaller than last year.
Pardon?
I think smaller than last year.
Yeah, I think it was a little smaller. I think this year, like Dr. Henry said, a lot of people
I'm willing to travel, yeah.
are finally able to travel.
makes
And
sense.
so I think a lot of people were wanting to kind of go places during the summer.
is this something that you guys are thinking to do next year? And if so.
Okay.
How much money are we putting towards it compared to the capacity?
So, yes, and, so some of the plans that have been presented to you, and I believe it was one of the June board meetings was the ELOP, the Extended Learning Opportunities Program. And, as I shared, that started as a grant 2 years ago, which paid for it. And now it's become a program. It's no longer a grant. And that paid for the majority of it this year. And then there is from everything I've heard and read, that program will be sustained. And so because of our extended learning offering programs, our after school programs, and we don't pay for them, we partner. Our portion of that money goes towards the summer program.
And so the people who are coming to this program are the people who need the program, correct? Or if we are not at capacity, but could we open it up to whoever, I mean, regardless of where they land in the testing, et cetera?
So we opened it, so first it was for students who are 1 or more grade levels below in either their reading or math assessments for second trimester, because we had to start earlier, right? We couldn't wait till the last day of school to invite people. Then we opened it up to anyone who was within grade level, but they're calling it early on. So I think I explained that at one of the board meetings, that if I'm a second grade reader and I'm taking a test second trimester, but I'm scoring as a new second grader, that's early on their grade level. So we opened it up in any area of reading or any area of math, and there's different like domains they're looking at. If they were early on in anything, they were invited. We opened the door pretty wide because we were trying to get our numbers as full as we could, so we as many students as we had. One thing I heard when we did that and was kind of warned a little bit is that could be hard on our teachers if they're serving one population for students who are grade level below and some are a little bit higher, they have to differentiate their learning. The fear that I would have if we open the door all the way to anyone could come, including gifted students, and it might lose the intention because it really is a review of core standards that students need to be at grade level.
So if a student was above grade level, they would probably be
They
a
might
little
be
bit
bored.
And then a lot of times when students are bored, they're
Yeah.
less engaged and might take away from the ability to really provide that intervention for those students who need it. But we did open it up really to anybody who is behind at all, is able to come to the program.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Okay, no,
Dr. Henry?
if you don't have any other questions, we're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to item B, Ms. Paulino, this will go.
All right. So for the financials today, it's very short and brief. During the summer time, believe it or not, it's kind of the opposite for finance people and school business. It's very busy. We're closing the books, trying to get everything as perfect, get all the expenses in the appropriate years, and open the new year as well with orders, books, and laptops and iPads and whatnot. So it's a pretty crazy time. So today, all I will be presenting for you is June's check register. So we're gonna just kind of quickly take a look at it here. If anything stands out, please feel free to, jump in here. It's very, very just, yeah. Yeah, your regular, your Kaiser United Health there, medical benefits. One, two, that's I would like to start pointing out that towards the middle of the page where you see the reimbursements of $1,000, those are the professional growth reimbursements. That's, again, something new that we started this year, and our educator effectiveness grant is what's paying for that. And so here in the month of June, you'll see quite a few of our employees taking advantage of that benefit for them. So they're getting reimbursed for, here we have induction program, another employee for this credential program and whatnot, so. Again, some more $1,000 reimbursements there. You'll everything's pretty much, things that you've already seen, nothing really out of the ordinary here. Here on the last page, again, a few more of those professional growth reimbursements. And then on the last one is a big one. It's the school outfitters. This is the furniture purchase for the OPA Innovator Demonstration Classroom. So that's a big chunk of money there that we spent. Any questions?
This is random. I'm just curious, when there's a petty cash used for toilet paper, was that like an emergency?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's an emergency. That is.
And there's another kind of couple of things that she's gonna add on here is that we could see expenses by school. So I'm gonna be dividing up and seeing, with potentially 3 schools.
Yeah, add a column there to the end, or just, add a column to reflect the location, which of the schools, So so next month we'll get, you'll see more of what you're used to seeing with the financials, kind of more of the income statement, balance sheet, your normal stuff. And then just down the line, we'll also update our budget based with first interim, and Dr. Kernan will kind of go into highlights of how our budget's gonna change significantly, so.
And you'll be showing our fiscal year end numbers at that point.
Correct, yes. All right, there's not any questions? No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number C, 2020-2023 California budget update, Dr. Kanai.
Actually, I don't think it's there. It's driving me crazy. All right, so I'm just going to give kind of a brief overview of the governor's budget. So the California budget. So the state approved a new budget, and it has a lot of additional money for education. So so it's pretty exciting that we are going to see some increases in our funding for next year. We already had a really pretty robust operating income for next year. And this, once we get all of the new numbers, we'll actually increase it pretty significantly from where we actually were to begin with. So, so just some kind of highlights for the budget as a whole. It's $128.3 billion that was allotted for K-12 education. Prop 98 per pupil funding, which is like our general LCFF funding. So just the kind of base funding that we get per student is projected to increase about $3,000 per student above what it was in the 2021 budget last year. So that makes our per pupil base funding go up to about almost $17,000 per student.
That's a big increase, right?
It's a big increase. So basically going from about $14,000 a student to about $17,000 a student is a pretty significant increase in that funding. And then on top of our base funding, several other funding sources are going to be added that will actually increase that per pupil funding even more than the $7,000 of base funding. So our base funding comes again from the local control funding formula, and there's about a 13% increase in LCFF from 2021. So as we talked about earlier when we were going through the budget, and Rosa mentioned when she was presenting the budget last month, the governor was projecting, or as part of his budget and the legislative budget, a 6.56% COLA increase. So that amounts to about $4.4 billion in the total California budget. But then in the final approved budget, they actually pretty much doubled that. So they added an additional 6% to LCFF, or another additional $4.4 billion to the LCFF. So that's why you saw that big increase in the per pupil spending, because and that's going to be a big increase in our school budget, because we were just projecting, as everyone else was in the state, that 6.5% COLA, but then the state added, basically doubled that COLA increase. So the total projected LCFF increase, after taking kind of everything into account, it should increase by about 12.84% from where it was last year, which is a pretty big increase when you're looking at $4 million operating or LCFF for the different sites. Like I mentioned, there's also some additional money that's coming in. A lot of it is one-time funding that can be kind of spread out over multiple years. So the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant is about $7.9 billion. That comes out to approximately, and this one is based off of our unduplicated pupil count. So instead of our total students, it's based off of the number of students who are low income, English learners, homeless, or foster youth. So we'll get about $1,200 per unduplicated pupil for that. And it's actually available to use through the 2027-28 school year. So, so we likely, because we have such a strong operating income projected for next year, we'll likely push that off and not use that until the out years. Then there also is an art, music, and instructional materials block grant. And that is, it's about $3.4 billion, and that one is based off of our total ADA. And it's looking like schools could get almost $600 per student for that to be used to increase art and music instruction. And then that one we can use until 25-26. Also, the amount of money that we're getting per special education student is increasing. So in our original budget, the state had projected that we would be getting about $715, and that's actually what we got last year for our special education students. The state increased that by over $100 a student to $820 per special education student. And then they had a grant called the Alternative Dispute Resolution funding. And that basically is to fund ways to make sure that that we are not basically to try to decrease the number of special ed lawsuits. And so that was about $20,000 last year. It should be probably about $20,000 again this year, and we use that to sort of support processes like our SST process and having training for our special education staff, and also, you know, ways to just make sure that we are following all of the special education laws and procedures. And then there's some other changes to how special ed funding is being apportioned. So it's really just kind of where different pots of money are coming from. It's not really going to affect our actual funding. The big effect of special ed is that increase of $100 per student. And then I know Dr. Henry presented our ELOP plan at the last board meeting, our Extended Learning Opportunity Program, and that has actually been turned into more of an ongoing funding source for after school and summer programs. And that will also be funded based on our number of unduplicated pupils, and it will come out to about $1,250 per unduplicated pupil. And that's because we have a lower percentage of unduplicated pupils. If we were 75% or more unduplicated, then we would be getting a little over double that per student. But because we have a smaller number of unduplicated students, it's about $1,250 per student. And again, that is available for use through 2025-26. So what does this mean for OPA? It actually will result in about $1 million increase in our LCFF, our base funding. It'll add about $350,000 for that Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant. They haven't given the specifics of how the Art, Music, and Instructional Materials Block Grant is going to be funded and how much exactly it's going to be. It could be almost $900,000 for OPA, but it kind of depends on how they are going to apportion it. ELOP, it'll be an additional about $370,000, and then approximately $36,800 for special education funding. And again, these are preliminary calculations. They're based on, you know, rough estimates of our projected enrollment, as well as what the state, kind of the general things that the state put out in the budget, but they're still working on the specifics for apportionment. But either way, it will result in a significant increase to our overall budget. And Rosa will be presenting our interim budget in December. Once the state has figured out all of those little apportionment pieces and exactly how things are going to get funded and what it's going to look like, then we'll add that into the interim budget, and it should again make our budget even healthier than it already is, and provide us some extra funding, especially like in areas like the music and arts grant to help increase our offerings in those areas. So,
And I'm sure that with each of these areas will come a plan that has to be written and shared with the board. So we get a lot of plans, and we will be sharing all the plans with you. So
So, is this the time for questions?
So yeah, so all I was gonna say is as soon as we get the final determination of the calculations, we'll give you those updated projections. And as those come out, we'll update the board as well. You know, even between now and the first interim, if there's any changes. But again, the whole thing will be really reflected more in the first interim in December.
Should I
Go for it.
Okay, yes. So when we were talking about the block grant for arts and music, is it possible, as you're planning, I know you guys don't know yet, but we used to have art masters and, you know, I loved that program. And is it possible to hire, could we use it for salary to bring in
So-
for choir and?
So I wrote that down. We do still have art masters, so I do want to say that it's
the
different.
water, yeah, the water.
Well, it's the purchased curriculum.
Right,
And so we still have it.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that, you know, the
not the
public
old, yeah,
hears that.
not what I'm.
And that it is presented through our STEAM lab, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So, but yes, with some of this additional funding, if we were able to have a more coordinated effort, that's something that we could definitely explore.
Because it would be nice to have it over all the schools, including if we were able to a middle school and just have a, you know, and maybe a vertical alignment curriculum and all of that.
Yeah.
And then choir too. I mean, I don't know if that's an offering that we can do, but I know it's something we don't currently have.
We talked about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
We have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have, I think we had it not last year, the year before at SOC as an
We had it
elective. We had it last
That's
year
as an elected.
as an elective offering.
I didn't know that, okay.
Yeah, so we do have the choir as a middle school elective. It appears in reading about the grant that they really want it spent on materials, not staffing. And so because it's one-time money, they usually try to steer schools away from spending one-time money on staffing, because then
Yeah.
you staff it for 1 year and then you wind up having to let people go. So again, it's very broad language in the budget right now. But it appears that is really focused a lot more on actual materials and equipment for arts and music, or for music and art education.
Did SV have choir too, or is it just?
I think SV
All of us
has
had it, okay,
had both schools have had the elective.
okay, thank you.
And as we learn more, and go to the meetings and find out restrictions and recommendations and those kind of things, we'll keep you informed.
Right, yeah, one more question. Do we have after-school tutoring or anything like that? We do.
We do.
Yeah, so we have it at both sites.
Chiefs.
It's our
That's it.
OPA Chiefs
Okay,
program, and we have after school kind of targeted tutoring, as well as like a general homework club each week.
Okay, and then that's assessment based as well.
For
Or is it
the
teacher recommendation?
targeted intervention, then that's based off of different data points, assessments, teacher recommendations. But the general homework club is open to anybody.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, not a question, it was just my one comment, and it's related to what you just said about staffing, is just that we're very considerate of sustainability.
Yes.
And wherever we invest funds, because
Mhm.
we know the ebbs and flows of state budgets, right, and grants come and go, and it really hurts when you get something up and going and then have to cut it off.
Right.
Yeah,
With the
that's-
students,
We don't
so,
wanna do.
That's why we
Yeah.
try to never use one-time funding
Yeah.
as a sole way to staff, because
Makes sense, yeah.
it is so hard to have a program have to end because you have to get rid of that staff.
or even materials or things that,
Mhm.
you know, you need to function programs, so just having
Yeah.
sustainability in mind and
Right.
Yeah,
future costs. right?
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that was gonna be my comment too, is that when you have these one-time funding, you may want to invest in like capital investment, like maybe upgrading the band equipment.
Yeah.
Or, I pitch for getting better mic equipment or better Wi-Fi. These are all things that, if you don't have to,
Yeah.
it's like a capital investment, you invest it and then, so if the drums are not good, guitar is not good, go buy it now using this money as opposed to investing in creating a new program, like you said, build the program with
Yeah.
funds that you're assured of, but then do a capital investment.
And that's what it looks like, especially for that one, that it's really geared towards updating band equipment and updating, STEAM labs and art equipment. and
Need
things
better
like that.
microphones in SOC, I can tell you,
And better
I went to an event, and SOC did not have it. I mean, we usually had the teacher holding the microphone, kneeling down. I mean, not, but we have money to invest in.
Well, that's actually part of our upgrade and modernization plan is to redo all of the, or both of the sound systems in both of the honor halls. So we actually, you guys already approved us to do that as part of the plan. When we actually get that,
Yeah,
the expenditures, then you'll have to approve it again, but that was actually part of that big major plan was to upgrade, because we know in both, not just, it's actually a little worse, if you can imagine at SV than at SOC. Theirs works less, so we need to upgrade it at both sites.
So we were planning to do that before we knew we were getting this grant, so it just
Yeah.
helps out.
This just helps out. So some of that cost can be offset, kind of like we did with the technology and receiving the emergency connectivity funds. We already approved that we were gonna buy all the Chromebooks. It was just nice that we got a lot of the money back. So these are all already budgeted. It's kind of like an icing on the cake to be able to get some of that reimbursed back through this.
yeah, I think with new leadership in each of the campuses now, I urge you guys to take a clean sheet approach to say like, what is it that we've just been functioning with just because we think we have to be prudent with our money, but the things that you don't want the kids to like, they're playing a song and suddenly the Wi-Fi goes off, those are things that are not good experiences for the kids. And so let's make sure that we like spend it on that rather than have it on reserves,
Right.
that, I mean, I agree with you 100% that we shouldn't invest in a program based on funding that, when the recession hits, it's gonna go away, right?
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? This was a good update, thank you for that, really appreciate you doing this for us.
Thank you.
Okay, now comes the fun part, items for action. Before I read it out, one of the things that for my board mates, the staff have now added 3 additional line items for each of the items. Aligning it, I think this was Member Smith, your suggestion last go around. Thank you, staff, for incorporating it so quickly. Now each of the action items have an alignment with what the LCAP goal is, how we're going to fund it, and what, if any, impact we're going to have on our budget. So thank you for doing that. Okay, item number A, approve board policy, my favorite thing. Approve board policy 1240 volunteers. The board policy reflects the current OPA volunteer policies and procedures and includes relevant state and federal laws and regulations pertaining to volunteer requirements. Relates to LCAP core action 4.3. It's recommended the board of directors approve action item A. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve action item.
Well, thank you.
I'll second.
So thank you. Any discussion on this? We already have read the board policy, so. Okay, make a roll call vote. Member Agarwal?
Aye.
Member Kagos, aye. Member Smith is aye. Member Travis and Member Jackson are absent.
Well, I am eyes. I didn't get to say it.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
It's okay. You were right to say I'm fine.
All I for you.
I thought I said, but I didn't think quickly.
My voice, like,
Member Smith. Action item B, approve board policy 5030, student and staff wellness. The board policy reflects the current OPA nutrition and wellness policies and procedures and includes relevant state and federal laws and regulations pertaining to staff and student wellness. Aligns to LCAP goal action 3.7. It's recommended that the board of directors approve action item B. May I have a motion, please?
I move to approve item B.
Member Smith making a motion and second.
second.
Member Agarwal, thank you. Any questions from the board about this? Okay, roll call vote. Member Agarwal.
Aye.
Member Kagos, aye. Member Smith.
Aye.
And Member Travis and Member Jackson are absent. Item number C, approve board policy 5111 admissions. The board policy reflects the current OPA admissions policies and procedures and includes relevant state and federal laws and regulations pertaining to school admissions. Aligns to LCAP goal action 1.1. It is recommended the board of directors approve action item C. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve action item C.
Thank you, Member Agarwal. May I have a second?
Second.
Any questions?
On this one, I just wanted to, for the sake of the audience, because I've read it, but do we want to like note any significant changes that occurred with admissions?
really, it was more updating our admissions policy to align with what was in our charter, and as well as just general regulations around admissions. So just making sure that everyone knows that we are a public school of choice, that anyone can apply, and that we don't admit students based on, their academics or any other factors. It's a free open enrollment. And so we just wanted to make sure that all of those things were highlighted in the policy, and that we were really aligning to all of those different requirements and the things that we have in both of our school charters.
Yeah, there's no material changes to how we.
No material changes of what we've been doing. It's just our old policy was very old and didn't have all of the legal requirements in it. So now it really is just aligned to what we have in our charters.
How many policies are we through right now on updating? Do you
We're
know?
actually almost done. We have maybe 5 or 6 more, and then you're gonna be really sad because we won't have to update any for a
Then we'll be
while.
outdated all over again.
And then we'll have to start over. Some we have to do every single year, and one of them is coming up, but some are things that we actually have to update on a yearly basis. So those you don't get out of each year.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we'll go to a roll call. Member Agarwal.
Aye.
Member Smith.
Aye.
And Member Kadu is aye as well. Member Jackson, Member Travis absent. Okay, action item D, approve revised board policy 5141.52, suicide prevention. All public schools are required to review their suicide prevention policy every 5 years. This complete revision of the OPA suicide prevention policy reflects current practices and procedures regarding suicide prevention and aligns to state and federal regulations regarding suicide prevention, LCAP goal or action 1.13. It is recommended that the board of directors approve action item D. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve action item D.
Member Agarwal, and may I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? Okay, a roll call vote, member Agarwal.
Aye.
Member Smith.
Aye.
And member Kadu is aye as well. Item number E, approve purchase of Savas Realidades. Oh, wait, we can keep this, only the F here, okay.
Yeah.
Curriculum for middle school Spanish. OPA utilizes Savas Realidades curriculum in middle school for Spanish instruction. This purchase will provide the online access to the curriculum as well as the consumable workbook used in the middle school Spanish courses. LCAP goal action item action 1.4 and funding source. It's going to come out of the general fund already accounted for in the budget for textbooks. The financial impact is $15,570.04 plus applicable tax. Does the board have any questions or do you need a presentation on this?
This is a lower amount now, right?
Do a motion
Do a
first.
motion
Oh,
and then
we do a
I
motion.
do need to say
Okay,
something.
may I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve item E.
I second.
Okay, we need to amend that amount a little higher. We did not get the official quote actually until this morning, which I have. So
And it's in your folder.
it's in your folder. The amount is, we estimated based on last year's prices and our numbers. And when I got the actual quote, it was a little higher at $19,309.60. So that one went up a few thousand. While the
Yeah, that went
other
down.
31,000.
This is plus taxes or before tax?
This is with tax,
So what is the
shipping.
amount before taxes? Because that's the amount you give
Yeah.
us here.
Okay, let's see. I have to look at the way she did it.
Probably 17,000 or something.
So it looks like we'll start shipping and handling.
You could just amend
Can
it
we
to be
just-
that total amount,
Yeah, let's do that.
including tax.
Yeah, because she did not.
Give it
take out
amended
the
that way
tax.
then.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so as amended, if I have a roll call vote, member Agarwal,
Aye.
member Smith.
Aye.
And member Kadu is aye as well.
The next one is the app that
We
we are
took it off the agenda.
taking off the
Okay,
agenda.
so let's go to item number G, approve contract with Equity Partnership. OPA is entering into a contract with Restorative Equity Partnership REP to provide training in restorative practices to school teams. Restorative practices delivered through the use of community building and academic circles, builds relationship within the classroom setting, decreases disciplinary incidents, and creates an equitable environment where all champions can benefit academically and social emotionally. LCAP Goal Action 2.2. Funding sources from the Educator Effectiveness Block Grant, financial impact is $26,000. It is recommended that the Board of Directors approve action item G. May I have a motion, please?
If this is just for discussion purposes, right? Yeah. I move to approve action item G.
Thank you, Member Agarwal. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any presentation?
I just am wondering if you have questions?
So I had called Patricia earlier this morning and asked her because had some concerns based on the website. So I went and delved into the website and had some questions about the same stuff that everybody else was concerned about. So she explained what the RFP is, and I got some clarification, which was helpful for me. I know that there's probably some other questions within the group.
Could you?
So, yeah, do you want to share what you shared with us?
I can
Yeah,
totally
please
share. What we're looking to contract with our EP to do is to train teams at both sites on circles, restorative circles, which are instructional tools. As part of the Educator Effectiveness Block Grant that you approved last year, restorative practices was built into that. Excuse me if my voice gets hoarse. So this is the actual realization of that training. Restoratives, the REP, we're contracting with them because we can customize our training. And our training is specifically restorative circles, which are social emotional practices that teachers use in the classroom to build relationship and norms within the classroom, as well as they use circles as part of instruction. So delivering instruction. So that's specifically and the only tools we're using from REP. And that's why we're able to fully customize. And I also shared that they are actually coming out to learn about OPA and our champion profile and all our elements of OPA so that they can customize it specifically to what we do.
Can I ask, in terms of curriculum, what is it not like? Because I feel like there might be a lot of assumptions,
Yeah.
Right.
possibly, so maybe you
Yeah,
can
and there
clarify.
isn't
what
a,
it is
there isn't
specifically
really
and
a curriculum, you know, there's not like a textbook or a curriculum that the students are going to be learning. So I know, you know, they're not learning any specific topic. It's more of an instructional strategy
So,
for our teachers to implement in the classroom.
and I'd like to add that they are not working directly with students. They are training for adults at each campus, how to, so that the adults, both admin and then some of our teachers, on how the teachers can go into a classroom that know their children and conduct either academic circles, which is research-based. I got lots of books about it in my office, as well as opening circles in the morning, asking some key questions, gauging the temperature of the room, more of proven social emotional learning strategies. So it isn't a curriculum, it's a tool, and the company will be working with the 4 adults to train them to help support our school sites.
And I will be in the trainings, all the trainings with them.
And so it's not so much focused on restorative justice practices.
No, so you have restorative justice as, but that's, a lot of that is for severe harm, things like that. Restorative practices are the tools that educators can use to help build, you know, so they're tools like restorative practices.
For building community and engagement within the
yes.
classroom and providing opportunities for all students to be active participants in the learning. So if you're doing an academic circle, everyone basically is actively, or a restorative circle, everyone is basically actively engaged. So the teacher might pose a question about social emotionally. what's everybody's, temperature today in the
Yes, if you were a
classroom?
weather source, what would you be?
What would you be?
Well, I
Are you
also-
sunny or are you?
I also want to add, they're literally sitting in a circle. That's why it's called circles.
Or skin?
So that, or standing, or they're in a circle so that everybody is seen equally. So that's the glory of a circle, right? Everyone is seen and nothing is hidden. So it's a wonderful.
And we've
tool.
already modeled that. Our week of welcome last August, when we started with circles, for the staff to bond a little bit. And it was more just based on going to different corners in the circle for what types of vacations do you prefer? And then we have them share something about something that meant something, like the questions get a little deeper, but it really was just kind of an opening. And then actually in one of our breakouts in that week of welcome, where our professors got to choose, we had several offerings like multiple intelligences and gate strategies. Trish also did a presentation on introduction to using circles in your classroom. So we do see that. We see it with Socratic seminar. I saw a great lesson this year where students, they were in their desks in a circle. They all had 2 cents. They were out answering questions and relating to a novel that they were reading. And so some of our teachers already know how to use it, but we want to build capacity because it's a really great instructional strategy as well as community building strategy.
It builds classrooms that interact together, including the professor. The professor becomes a living, breathing, equal person in this circle. And it decreases the amount of kids being sent out of the classroom because all of that is handled within the classroom circle setting. It's just a nice side effect of using circles.
So and then when I asked Amy about it too, she said it was a stepping stone almost with PBIS.
Yes,
So it works
absolutely.
hand in hand with that. So it's not CRT. It's
No.
No,
Just
no,
to
no.
help people have conversations.
Correct. And it's part of our PBIS, our MTSS, everything we do, our champion profile, it builds that piece into.
It's tier 1 for everyone because when you're looking at a multi-tiered system of supports, which is MTSS, as well as PBIS, which is positive behavior interventions, you have to be, the tier 1 is for everyone. You have to build community before you can restore community, or as people misbehave, bring them back in. If that community isn't built to begin with, then the other steps or tiers for more severe behavior aren't as effective.
So do you see this as a phase 1 of a?
It's more of like a piece. So we're looking really at our whole MTSS system, or a multi-tiered system of support. And so we have academic supports, and we have social emotional supports, and we have behavioral supports, and they all sort of work together to make sure that every student is successful. Because without having, being successful social emotionally, then students can't be successful academically. If there's behavior issues in the classroom, it all kind of works together. So this is more of a tool that will help us to make sure that we are meeting all of those needs of our students, and one of those pieces is really kind of building that classroom community, like Dr. Henry said,
Creating a sense of belonging.
and then also it is a great academic tool along with things like Socratic seminar, where it's a tool to get every student engaged and really provide an avenue for making sure that every student in the class is engaged. I know we all can probably remember back when we were in school, and the kid who raised their hand and jumped up and down in their seat was the kid who always got to answer the questions. This is a tool to make sure that every student in the classroom is an active participant and not just that one that's constantly jumping up and down.
And also want to point out, as part of the educator effectiveness grant, giving our professors tools, this also will encourage professors not to lecture nonstop. When they're using a circle, they're actually sitting together with their students and they're all engaged. So everyone shares the academic load, and you get a lot more out of your students, and you're able to sit back and listen and really gauge what they're learning.
How did you pick the teachers who are going to be doing this?
We haven't yet.
Okay.
So one of the things, we're having some discussions, and I'll be involved with the teacher selection. But I believe right now we have the admin, we have an ed
And
specialist
specialists from each site.
from each site, and then there'll be 2 more. We do have a
Well,
lot
one
of,
of them is our school counselor.
school counselors, so one
2,
teacher from each site.
And then one professor.
One of the things that I'm hoping to look at and kind of put together this summer is we're doing a lot. So, and we always do a lot, but I really want to look at staff members in different initiatives and who's doing different things, because I want to make sure that we're not constantly reaching out to the same people. For example, we just added 9 trainer of trainers for thinking maps, and they're going through training over the summer, and there's going to be, you know, an ask over the year that they're training staff, that they're coaching, that they're providing model lessons so other teachers can come in and observe. And so we really had a discussion about trying to maybe tap someone that isn't involved in everything.
To build
But I kinda have to-
capacity.
I need to
want to
present
build capacity across the
We
organization.
want to get everyone into that aspects of
And create leadership.
school sites.
Well, yeah, we don't want one teacher with all knowledge and.
Right.
And getting burnt out because
Yeah.
that teacher's trying to do everything, but really building capacity among the whole staff and getting everyone involved in some aspect of the school.
I have one last question.
Go ahead.
Sorry, is the contract already executed with them? Because I saw it signed already.
It's signed, but we haven't implemented it yet.
No, but implementation is different than an executed contract. So is the contract,
It was approved as part of the EEBG grant.
Last November.
Have we actually executed it yet?
We haven't started services yet, but they've got a copy of it and we have a copy of it.
So it has been signed by both parties.
so I would just say as a matter of like, regardless of what the topic is, right? We should be approving this and then be signing contracts,
Yeah.
not vice versa. Because what would happen if we don't approve it tonight?
Yeah.
And it's already executed.
Sometimes we do have to ratify based on timing.
Sure. This
And
one wasn't.
so this one was not a timing, since it was initially approved as part of the EEBG grant. It was signed and then ratified, but we can, if there's not a timing issue, even if it was approved as part of one of our plans, we can bring it to you ahead of time.
Just because a lot of times in the plan too, we don't have the real budget amount, so when it gets down to that part with the contract, I think that's why it's important to let us have that decision making at that point.
Makes sense.
Yeah, cool.
As Dr. you're saying, this is not specific to like something that could be considered as controversial. This is just as a matter of course, right?
Normal practice,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
I just happened to notice when I
Yeah,
was digging through this contract, oh, it's already signed, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I'm going to take a roll call vote. Member Kaguz and I, Member Agarwal.
Aye.
And Member Smith.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number H, approved 2022-2023 OPA employee handbook. The OPA employee handbook has been revised to reflect current OPA policies, procedures, and include relevant state and federal laws and regulations. LCAP Goal 2.1 is recommended the Board of Directors approve action item H. May I have a motion, please?
Next, motion to approve item H.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any questions from the board? No, okay, we'll take a roll call vote. Member Agarwal.
Aye.
Member Kaguz, aye. Member Smith.
Aye.
Okay, item I, approve the Aon Oxford Preparatory Academy Insurance Renewal Proposal for 2020-2023 program year. The Aon Oxford Preparatory Academy Insurance Renewal Proposal for the 2020-2023 program year includes insurance coverages for general liability, excess liability, commercial property, workers' compensation, crime, DNO, fiduciary, cyber, and student accident. LCAP action or goal 3.10. Funding source, general fund, all but $12,353.16 is already accounted for in 2022-2023 budget for insurance. Will amend budget at first interim. Does not affect positive operating income. Financial impact, $326,583.40. It's recommended the Board of Directors approve action item I. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve action item I.
Thank you, Member Agarwal. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this?
We're hoping to get that $12,000 down. Sometimes David can work his
Yes.
magic, but as of right now, that's the.
So David, I went through this because these things I don't know interest me, but I would love to understand what is I and J, what's the difference, but you can do that when we do J. But then also,
Yes.
this DNO, does that include, like, does that cover us as well?
Yes, Director.
So like, what does it cover for us?
So in case there would be any kind of error and omission or any kind of
Oh,
action
okay.
against the board directly or the board member, that would cover you all.
Thank you. And then the all but 12,000, that is because it seems like we assumed it was lesser, but it's come up a little higher, right?
It's a little bit higher
Yeah.
than we expected. The two that went up the most, the two areas,
I saw
workers'
that.
compensation and crime, cyber crime.
Is workers' compensation because we made too many claims or just?
Just
Just in general.
in general, in the insurance industry as well as,
Yeah.
cyber crime.
I mean, cybercrime is like no brainer. We talked about this before that we shouldn't be like, we should actually have professionals looking at our cyber, not the deans checking emails to see whether it's sending emails. I mean, no offense to the deans here, but we should have like professionals do it. So, okay.
So we feel pretty good about this relative to where we've been in past years with OPA's insurance. So, I think, again, it could come down a little bit if they're able to get some concessions from some of the carriers.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments or questions on the board? Okay. Then let's do a roll call vote for action item I. Member Agarwal.
Aye.
Member Kaguz, aye. Member Smith.
Aye.
Okay. Item number J, approve the SEL as self-membership excess liability insurance proposal for 2020 to 2023. Self-excess liability insurance coverage increases coverage to $55 million per claim, 50 million in excess of the 5 million in limits. LCAP goal action 3.10 already accounted for in the general fund, from the general fund. Financial impact $29,108.76. It is recommended the board of directors approve action item J. May I have a motion, please?
I second.
Okay, sorry, I did have a question about this. What is this? I mean, this is just like an umbrella reinsurance coverage?
Exactly. So this is one of my favorites, and this is has to do with a consortium that OPA joined probably over 10 years ago, that we belong to with other schools. It's a great thing that we have, and it is kind of like your umbrella insurance that you may have as an individual. It pays that catastrophic, very large amount that you see there. So it's just something that we have the benefit of having over and above.
The 5 million that we have, that's from item I, per, when they say 5 million
And
per incident, is that like the liability insurance claim? Is that what 5 million?
yeah, I think there's for certain claims, it would be at that level. And then again, if you get catastrophic, then.
Then you go into
To the
this
umbrella.
self number.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So we're lucky to have it.
Okay, $30,000. Any other questions or comments about this? Okay, roll call vote then. Member Agarwal.
Aye.
Member Kaguz, aye. Member Smith. Okay, action item K. Member Smith, you get to sign this, I think. Approve Oxford Preparatory Academy 11 amended bylaws. The Oxford Preparatory Academy bylaws have been amended to reflect current practices as well as update language to reflect current executive director and board titles. It is recommended the board of directors approve action item K. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve action item K.
Second.
Okay, and discussion, questions, comments?
So we really, our bylaws had called the president the chairman and called the executive director the president, and we don't use that language. We call the board president, and the executive director. So the major changes to it were really just changing that language to make sure that it really did go along with what the languages that we actually use, so that it reflected accurately. And we did just have it reviewed with legal counsel just to kind of go through and make sure that there weren't any other changes. The only thing that they put in was just to add, that if a board member is a parent, that we let that board member know that there is no requirement for them to serve on the board as a volunteer part of them being a parent or becoming a parent of an OPA student. So that really, they looked at everything else, just to make sure that it was that it was up to date and legally accurate. So really, those are the two big changes.
So when we're talking about the parent, it's not required for a parent to be on the board. From before you were here, those days when we were still fighting with the previous board, we felt that we didn't have any voice as a parent because they didn't require a parent on there.
No, I'm
So-
saying it's not a requirement for parents to serve on the board.
Okay,
That's the
so
piece that
that's-
was, it's kind of a legal language thing. As a charter school, we can't require parents to volunteer. And so they just recommended that we say that it also is not it's not a requirement for parents to serve on the board as a volunteer in order for their student to be
Go to
accepted
school.
into OPA.
Okay.
Well, that's a good question,
I remember.
It's more the opposite, yeah.
but that's a good question, because do our bylaws require a certain number of parents to be in the board? That's a good question for us to contemplate.
Our bylaws don't, they did before they were amended, I think
A
maybe
long time
three
ago.
or
Yeah.
four amendments. They required basically for OPA board members to be parents. But we have those, that was amended
Okay.
quite a
But there's no minimum
while
number of
ago.
parents.
There's no
to be
minimum
on the
number of
board.
parents.
We should think about that, maybe that might be,
I
maybe
just-
it's like a minimum 1 or 2 or something
Well,
like that.
yeah, and I want to go back because I don't know the details, but there was a point in time where our hands as parents were tied because we couldn't make any movement on the
Yeah.
board. And so I don't know what Raymond, I know they amended the bylaw so that we were then able to make some changes if things got really bad. Not that that would ever happen again, but I don't want to also,
Yeah,
make
sure, longer
Yeah,
term, yeah.
right, I want to think
Yeah, no, makes
further
sense.
down. So I'd love to.
Yeah.
If we need to amend it, let's amend it again, but if we approve this, but I would love to have a conversation with John.
I believe those things are included still for that time, they're included in this.
Okay,
And I think what Dr. Nan was saying, we're not a membership organization where every parent is automatically kind of on the board.
Yeah,
I think
right.
that's the way I think about it.
It'd be good to see what our best practices, right? If in a member, in a board of 5, should we require, because obviously you want the parents to have a say in it too, right? And so like maybe it's like one board member has to be, a minimum one board member has to be a parent, right? This amendment should go through, but you guys should come back and say, should we have that type of amendment?
Yeah, we can take a
Like
look.
what do good charter schools do?
Yeah.
and
And
yeah,
ask them to
and
do.
I don't know if it's Haney or Raymond or there was something,
Yeah.
I was.
yeah.
Mhm.
We'll look at it.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, roll call vote, member Agarwal.
Aye.
Member Kudus, aye, member Smith.
Aye.
Okay, action item L, approve 2023-2024 in OPA instructional calendar. With input from various stakeholder groups, OPA has created the 2023-2024 instructional calendar, multi-color sheet. This calendar is published 1 year prior to the start of the designated school year in order to provide adequate time for planning and facilities use requests. LCAP goal action 4.6. It's recommended the board of directors approve action item L. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve item L.
May I have a
A
second?
second,
Any questions about this?
We're going to, Dr. Cornell right now is going to project the calendar, and I'll give you just a brief update. So for those of you that are watching and for that us in the room, this is for 23-24, so it is 1 year out, it is not for next year. We did look at the calendars from both Capistrano Unified as well as Saddleback Valley to make sure that we were aligned. We know that we typically get out a little bit later than some of the other districts around us, and that tends to cause some grief for families. So we had a lot of discussion about our needs, especially as for the September, those 3 dates at the bottom that are in, or I'm sorry. Yeah, those are our fall conferences. They're in orange. And we have had full day release on those 3 days, but if we are able to change those to minimum days like they are in the February dates in our spring conferences, and by removing 1 day, if you can scroll down a little bit. We currently have 2 days off for Memorial weekend, which would be the 24th and the 27th. But if we remain in school, the 24th, if you look at then June, we would be able to have our students and, be released on June 6th. So we would get out much earlier. This year, our last day of school was the 17th. So just by changing those 2 things. The other change that doesn't impact the days, but because 2024 is also a leap year, there was an extra day. So if you scroll up, while we wanted to make sure we were at the 180 days, instead of starting on a Wednesday, we will start on a Tuesday this year. So that all worked out kind of with the 180 days. And then we'll move the Meet Your Professor, which is usually on the Friday before school starts, to the Monday before school starts. So those are the big changes to the calendar.
And this gets us out, usually, right now, we're about 2 weeks after Capo and Saddleback.
So it would have been the 20th this year.
So it would get us out just a week after, and that week technically is because we have a 3-week winter break, and nobody else does. So that we can't do anything about that extra week that we get out, but it will be significantly earlier for everyone, giving everyone a little longer summer, because this summer seemed to be ridiculously short. And families who have older students in our surrounding schools, a lot of the private schools get out earlier too as well. So it allows it to line up a little bit better with the surrounding schools that people might have older siblings attending.
But it wouldn't do anything for this coming up year.
It doesn't do anything for this coming up year because we've already had to have that approved, and we've already turned that into our authorizers, but it will help us with the following year.
Awesome.
Are minimum days considered for the instructional days? They count towards the 180?
Minimum days do count towards the 180. So we have to meet that 180, and then we also have to, and you guys approved these a while back, our instructional minutes. So
and you're gonna relook at it next year and try to see if we can reduce it once we have.
for the following year, with the middle school, we'll be able to adjust the instructional minutes for elementary. Because right now, as you guys saw, they're, especially like for kindergarten, they're way over. But that's because everybody goes to school for the same day. And our middle schoolers are required to have so many more minutes. But the 180 days counts for minimum days and regular days, as long as you can fit all of the minutes in with the number of minimum days that you have.
And then, I don't know how hard this is to do, but is it possible to build this calendar in the form of like an ICS format that parents can just download and put it on the calendar? Is it possible? I mean, like you guys have this in the format that you just have to put it in Excel and convert it to it, and then you can put it on the website, and people can just download it and put it on the calendar. I mean,
As opposed to subscribing to the calendar.
do we have a calendar?
So we
system?
will have the calendar that's on the website, and you can actually subscribe to the OPA master calendar. We're actually going to create, usually it's between the 2 schools. In the past, we're actually going to create an OPA organization-wide master
The
calendar and the 2 school site calendars. So you can subscribe to any one of the 3. If you want to know what's going on organization-wide, you can subscribe to the whole organization calendar. If you want to know what's going on in each school site. And it's Google Calendars, so kind of to your point, you can actually make them because it's Google, you can do it through app. It'll download into your Apple Calendar.
I didn't know we had a calendar.
We created
Maybe it's good to know.
we create it through Google. That way you can set up reminders. You can put it on your own calendar. You can kind of have.
It'd be good to tell the parents.
And we'll put all of that out with the. We're actually going to be next week sending out all of the information for data confirmation and the start of the school year, and that how to subscribe to the calendars, the website link, the more, uniform information, all of that stuff, as well as making sure everyone can log into their Aries portal, because that's how you to do data confirmation. So making sure that everybody has all of that information, but we'll be sure to add how to link into those calendars, and be able to add those to your calendar.
That's awesome. Our families would want to subscribe to their school calendar so they don't get cross messages from the other school. The OPA master calendar is something that's new this year and is going to be used internally, because there's going to be a lot of things that aren't necessarily for the family. So that's why we're keeping the 3 calendars to make sure they're relevant to the right audiences. I love it.
Cool.
Yeah. Great.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Okay, do a roll call vote. Member Agarwal?
Aye.
Member Smith?
Aye.
And Member Cagoos? Aye. And so concludes all the action items. Item number 10, Executive Director Report.
So, it's the middle of the summer. We've been pretty busy doing a lot of different improvements at the school sites. I know Mr. Brawley's been walking around with painters, and we had carpet square people out showing us some new carpeting. We've also purchased the OPA Innovator classroom furniture, and that's actually already starting to ship. We were expecting it to be November, but
You made it happen.
but
you
apparently
the ships.
already coming. We were not expecting it to come so fast, so we've had to kind of clear out some space and figure out where we're gonna.
Rooms are painted, carpet's not ready.
Where we're gonna put it, but hey, it's, better early.
Problem to have.
Yeah, better early than late.
I think they'll be ready for school.
So we're hoping that we can get some of the furniture in and have some of the classrooms actually ready when the school year starts. So we're gonna really be kind of promoting that as we start building those classrooms and putting those classrooms together. So we're super excited. We kind of did some renovations already of the library media center over at SOC. So to make more space in there and to add some tables and have that be more usable this year by our students already, even before we really do the huge kind of renovations to that area. And so just tons of things going on at each one of our school campuses. This is, like you heard, the last week of our summer school program, and that's been a huge success this year. The kids have loved all the different STEAM projects and fun things that they've been able to do through that program. And then, like I said, we're going to be sending a lot of information out over the next few weeks. So I encourage everyone to make sure that you're checking your emails and getting online and doing data confirmation and updating all of your students' information. And then, I'm just super excited. I will be sending out a message tomorrow. I know we introduced our new administrators, but we also have some other staff that we have been busy hiring over the summer, and some new positions and different things. So I will be sending something out with kind of more information about all of that tomorrow. We're still we have filled a couple of positions, but they're not quite done yet, so I can't announce some of them, but we have really had an amazing year this year of just incredible applicants. So it's a testament to all of the great things that are happening at our school sites that people really want to come work at OPA. And this year we had fewer openings that we've ever had and more people applying. So it's a good, it's definitely a good problem to have, to not have enough openings for all of the people that want to be here.
It's the best year ever.
So we're super excited and really looking forward to starting the next school year and really kind of going strong. Hopefully, fingers crossed, COVID decreases a little bit from where it is right now, and continues to decrease so that we can make sure that we're starting the year off with all of our activities and events and our ability to have our parent volunteers on campus and really, you know, continuing to build all of the great programs that we have going on. So I'm just excited. It's been a really short summer, so I'm not excited about that because we have so much stuff that we're still working on left to do. But I'm excited for the start of next year. I think it's going to be the best year yet. So just looking forward to that.
Cool. Any comments or questions?
I have some. The librarian, I know that we're doing some stuff in that library area, and we talked about doing a librarian or a media specialist or something like that. Do we have any?
I think we're gonna, not for this year, just because we don't have the spaces completely updated and so we're not going to be fully utilizing those 2 spaces for this year, and probably we'll look at that for the following year, especially once we're able to pull the middle school kids off and then look at how we want to utilize that and staff that. Do we want more of a media specialist, which is probably what we'll be looking at, somebody who can, you know, help us also with research and the technology and appropriate use of
I
technology.
think that's what librarians are now.
Yeah,
No
they're more
longer the
media.
traditional.
No.
It's not going to be the
They are-
traditional library,
Media
it's going to be a media
Yeah.
specialist.
And then I saw on the volunteer policy, which I know we already passed, but there was a volunteer tier program that I saw, and I assume there's a
We're going to
plan
be
that's
rolling
coming.
that out.
There's a lot.
There's a
Yeah.
plan
So
for
there's a
everything.
draft of a lot of things, so,
Okay.
yes. Yes.
You're planning for that for this coming up year.
Yeah,
And,
and to really help with that, kind of creating ways to get more parents involved and providing different types of opportunities for parents to volunteer.
And it also, the
Align-
people who want to get fingerprinted and things can have a tiered where the people who
Yes.
don't want to can be,
Yep,
which I thought that was a great idea.
yeah,
and this is going to align, as we talked about earlier, to our academic outcomes committee, which did a great job with our champion profile, but bringing in that parent component. So that'll be some work ahead of us to really see what that looks like as well. So this is considered a kind of a working document and we'll continue to refine, but all the offerings, you know, it's not like we're not going to do any of it. It'll just continue to improve.
Got it, thank you.
but yeah, it'll be able to also, like you said, provide opportunities for parents who might not want to go the full route of getting fingerprinted and TB and all of those to still have opportunities on campus, but also bigger, kind of more detailed or in-depth opportunities for those parents, you know, who want to be really involved in their students' classroom or different things on campus.
Great, thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, thank you, Dr. Knapp. Item number 11, Director's Report. Ms. Smith.
Just very briefly, I know we touched on it, but I want to say thank you again for adding in the LCAP information to each item. Because not only for us as board members, but I think for all stakeholders to see that connectivity between where we're spending and the goals that we have, I just think it's so important. So I love increasing communication on that. So thank you. And then I will just mention, I went on the uniform purchasing website just to see what was available, and I'm trying to decide which sweater I want to get. But it was pretty easy to use and yeah, show examples of everything. So I thought made a good choice with that, and I'm excited to get my order in.
Yeah, they've been really, really great to work with and providing us a lot of, you know, extra things and helping out with any families who are in need and scholarships. And also helping us to be able to provide our cardigans again to our staff members kind of showing their years of service.
Honor Society also has a lot of swag for adults.
Yeah.
If you don't want to go to the other, Honor Society has like, Honor Society swag.
Oh, yeah,
Like
both
before
schools have
adults.
both schools have their, so that's kind of the official OPA uniform stuff. And then both schools, their honor societies have all the spirit wear, so
Yeah.
kind of the
License plate.
hoodies and license plate frames and pom hat things. Cool.
Okay, good to know. That's all I have. Thank you.
I actually don't have anything else to say, other than thank you very much for all your hard work. I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot going on.
And I'll just end it with like, again, last month I said I was so excited about the organization coming together, right? And now we have new leadership in the individual school sites. We're gearing up for hopefully a successful launch of a third site. We already have great leadership there. I have to ask him what happened the other 3 years, why only 3 out of the 6 years they were number one.
Yeah, great.
they
want to
found
ask
out
him
at
his
number-
birthday. But like everybody, I think you guys had a pretty, I just wish parents can see the level of rigor you guys put into the selection process, the interview panels, and someday I hope other people get to see what you guys do, which is I have parents, have teachers, have staff members, board members were not invited, not to sell, but
Just get to make the final selection.
No, but again, very, very, so I think I'm incredibly excited. I think it's going to be we'll see what the parent reactions are, but I think everyone should feel excited that I think we've done well with both campuses, and, super excited to see what and again, I urge the new leadership, come back and tell Mr. Barley what you need. Don't try to make up with stuff that you have. If you need stuff if you need a working microphone, please come and ask Mr. Barley.
And spending money on things.
Yeah. And if you want to include a better cell phone connection in campuses, I wouldn't mind that.
Neither would I. We can figure out how to, I'm like the worst, I hate stuff like that. But thank you for bringing that up also. And, I didn't mention that we did have a great panel in our chancellor interviews of parents, school site staff, teachers. So we really had a lot of input into those decisions for the school administrators. So, and we really do want to make sure that we get all of those different viewpoints and all of that input whenever we're making those big leadership staffing positions.
If you can send us the names of folks who are in the panel, I would like to drop them an email thanking them for their participation, but if that's okay with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we go to item number 12. I have one clarification before that. So I can't adjourn the meeting, right? Because we have to go to close and then come back to
We're gonna
open.
close and then come back, yeah.
We're gonna try to not keep you guys too late, okay? Item number 12, community input on non-agendized items. Public may comment on items not listed on the agenda that are within the legal purview of the board of directors. Public comments, including email comments, shall be limited to 3 minutes per comment with up to 20 minutes of public comment. Do we have any community input on non-agendized items?
No, not today.
Okay, excellent. So then we are going to go back into closed session for agenda item 3B, I think. Yes, 3B. And then we reconvene, hopefully no later than 30 minutes, hopefully. Okay, thanks everyone.
All right.
Keep my mask on.
Yeah, I'll keep my mask on. I'm not eating anything. Okay, let me just use that.